Hello, and welcome to another episode on the Move.Talk.Thrive podcast. Today, we are unpacking another member question, and that is what do we do when a session doesn't go to plan? So, this is something that happens quite a bit in pediatrics and generally when we're talking about children. So, we thought it was a really good one to answer for everyone and something that is quite relevant to my day today. So, with that being said, let's start this episode and look at what we do when a session's not going to plan.
We are child development obsessed, business besties, and mums, and we're here to spill all our secrets.
We have a combined 30 years experience working with children, and each episode we will bring you up-to-date research and evidence-based strategies to set your children up to thrive.
I'm Lizzy Dawson, Australian exercise physiologist.
I'm Emily Mackey, Australian speech pathologist,
And this is the Move.Talk.Thrive podcast.
Hey, Em, how you feeling?
Hi, I have to mention that we're recording this on the day that Taylor and Travis got engaged.
Oh,
Is anyone else
yes.
is anybody
Tay
else
Tay.
across that and being obsessed with social media?
I have not even, I literally looked this morning and saw it and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool, but I haven't looked again. So, what have you found?
Oh, okay. The most craziest thing that I found, because I'm not normally a big social media person or a news person for that matter, but I was like this morning, like looking at all the different posts and feeds. The craziest thing I saw was on the Home Edit. You know, the Home Edit, the organizational ladies from
Oh,
America.
yes.
Yes. So one of them was was saying that she had this crazy theory that they announced that their engagement on this particular date because she added two numbers together and that equals 8. And then his number's 89, is it? For
I
footy,
don't
and
know.
she's like 87, and so then they wanted it to be like 88. Anyway, I was just like, people are going nuts with trying to overanalyze like why they've announced on this date and like was she
Yeah, but
engaged
that's
when
her
they
thing, isn't it?
announced the
Like, that's her
album.
thing.
I know all these Easter eggs and things. Anyway, I am just so excited, and yeah, that's our news for this week.
I
But
did
also, thank
actually
you.
listen to the podcast.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, her podcast with Travis last week. So, I mean,
So
her
you are a fan,
marketing
Lizzie.
strategy is working.
Yeah. Lizzie always says she's not a huge fan, but you are.
Well, I'm not
You
like
are a
I'm not
little
a
bit.
Tay Tay music fan. It's not my
Um,
thing, right? So
yeah. But
it's not
you
that I
like,
don't like it. I'm just not like I'm actually not a mass music person.
yeah, right, right. Interesting. There you go. We've not
Yeah.
talked about music before, have we?
Yeah, I'm not. I don't know what it is. It's weird because Pete is like so into music and I'm not, and my whole family is into music.
Ah, that's
Yeah.
interesting. I
Yeah.
remember when we actually started this podcast, we were recording. So the first few episodes we recorded together live on the Central Coast. And I remember we were talking about Taylor and Travis, and they'd just gotten together. And so
Oh, really?
thinking,
I don't remember
wow,
that.
have we had the podcast that long? Anyway, I just remember having that conversation with you because I don't know, because I love
Maybe
Taylor.
we were trying to book tickets. Were we trying to book tickets?
That's right. We were to the
Yeah.
concept, we're talking about it. And
And you were
then
like, I am gonna get tickets. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'll come along. I mean, I don't really care that much, but it'd be cool to go to.
yeah, yeah. Anyway, I also want to say thank you to everyone who sent their well wishes from the episode
Yeah,
last
no.
week announcing baby Mackie number 3. It was really nice to get messages and DMs from you all. So thank you. And yeah, we'll keep talking about it as we go on the podcast. And yeah.
Yeah, how are
Anyway,
you feeling?
yeah, I'm good. Feeling okay
Oh,
today. I'm just
nice.
taking it day by day, right? Day by
Yeah,
day.
me
But yeah,
too.
I was gonna say, so how are you going? Your day today has been, the lead up to this is re very relevant to the topic we're talking about today.
Yeah, nothing going to plan. I feel like yeah, it's I'm doing all the things today. I started really well this morning. I actually ended up getting sick after last week's episode. I got quite not like really unwell, but I got enough to have an impact on me. And then I feel like today I am back feeling good. and I was getting in doing some deep work this morning, and I had a therapy session with Flinny at 10:30. So I went and picked him up. While I was at that session, I got a call from school about Marley. Now, Marley, if you are watching YouTube, you've probably just seen me walk around my house. This is where we're at today. I've got Marley sitting next to
He's
me
your
here,
second little boy.
second little boy,
Mm-hmm.
and keeps me on my toes, and very much a second child. And they were at Granny's yesterday, and they were playing with some golf clubs, and Marley got a golf club in the face, full speed swing. Fairly
Boys.
significant. So Granny brought them home and was fairly shaken yesterday afternoon. We were monitoring. Anyway, he's gone to school today and done PE. Probably should have given them a heads up that maybe that wasn't a good idea. And he got a throbbing headache in PE, and he's now saying he's saying he's hot, so he needed an ice block. So I had to delay the start of this podcast to go and get an ice block, which could be that he is milking the situation, or anyway, whatever it is, I'm kind of just going with the flow, and I've got him sitting next to me. I'm sitting in the living room today, so I can keep an eye on him. But good little segue into what happens when it doesn't go to plan,
Go to
which is
plan.
pretty much parenting, isn't it? A business.
Parenting children
Mm.
and
People.
people, like, it's out of your control, right? A lot of it is out of
Yeah.
your control. So one little tip there is, you said go with the flow. Go with the flow. You have to be
Yeah.
chill
Be
about it.
flexible.
Have a chill attitude, be a flexible attitude, right? But yeah,
Yeah.
I find in therapy, obviously with parenting, yes, as well, doesn't go to plan. But in therapy, you have kids coming in from all different backgrounds. They've had all different days, all different mornings. They're all different ages. They have all different living and family circumstances. So that's probably why a lot of things with children don't go to plan. There's just so many variables, so many factors at play.
Plus the little thing that is the human element, which is that we cannot predict someone else's behavior or what they're experiencing. So I think it's this can be applicable for adults as well, because
Yep.
it is so dependent on what is happening internally and externally to them and how they're responding to it. But I think it's we can use some pretty simple principles to adapt the way in which we deal with it, because it's all about how we respond, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what we can control, is how we respond and ourselves. And children are so intuitive. If you
Mm,
come with a stressed, like, energy level, they will pick up on that, and that makes them more.
yeah.
So it's really important that we control what we can ourselves, also for them
Yeah,
to
we
feel comfortable.
regulate ourselves, co-regulation. Like I think that goes like that's well, not goes without saying. I think it's really important. I don't actually think it is as obvious to people as we think sometimes. I think that looking after ourselves is, and we talk about this all the time on here, and I think, this is a perfect example that, if we are in a session and it's not going to plan, more you know, uh,
You
like
stress about it.
flustered we get, the worse it's going to be. And I think you learn that very quickly with parenting, don't you? You've just got to really let go sometimes and be guided by them. And I think something Em just messaged me earlier about some ideas of what to talk about today, or from our list that we've got. And something I thought about when this one came up was just looking at um, motivation and how to intrinsically motivate children. That's something that I unpack in my course, my child development and pediatric programming course. And I look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs in relation to motivation for children. And the base level is role modeling, and that is co-regulation, isn't it? So I think a really important aspect is how we are carrying ourselves and how we are behaving, because that is what we're role modeling. And I think if we can role model that we are flexible and we are regulated and we can adapt and transition, these are some of the things that we're trying to teach children. So I think that that is something that's really valid in on this topic.
It's also for the parents as well, because speaking as me as a parent, right? Say like if I'm taking my child to a session like or even swimming or something like that, and they um it did happen one time where we were running into swimming and Evie fell over like 2 seconds before she was meant to go into her lesson. And so then she was really hysterical, crying. We went into the lesson and then she wouldn't get in the pool and she was on the side and she was crying and then she wouldn't talk to the instructor. And so that is an example of not going to plan. Like she goes to swimming every week, normally gets in the pool, no dramas. And so, as a parent in that moment, I felt worried because I was like, what is the instructor thinking? Oh no, like she's mucking up. This is a group session. So she's interrupting the other children. What are the other parents thinking? So the instructor was really calm about it, which is what we're saying. And that actually
Yeah.
helped me as a parent as well. So it helped
Yeah,
her,
great.
but it helped me. And so it's all so much about the parent as well. And like the parent not feeling worried and I guess, oh no, like, because then they'll
Yeah.
affect the child as well. So it's very much about, as in terms of like I appreciated the teacher taking a little bit of proactivity with her and actually doing some strategies. And then I was like, okay, hang on, calm down. All right. Like take the pressure off. It's okay. And that just was a very good model for me.
I think that's so important because I like on for different reasons, right? Like I think one, as a parent, we care about how our children behave because it can be a reflection of us. Um, Mostly, also, it's a reflection of what's going on for them. But I think for me, in my like knee-jerk reaction, it's the knee-jerk reaction part of it is, oh my gosh, they're misbehaving. Like this is embarrassing, they're misbehaving. What must they think? Kind of what you just said. Um, and then the flip side of that is, oh, what is going on? What is going on for them right now? Or, and digging a little bit deeper. But it's it's interesting to look at that from one, a parent's perspective, and then the clinician or the practitioner perspective, in that when we're regulated as a practitioner and we say it's actually okay.
Mm.
We're good, it's okay, we'll just, we'll settle in. That then gives the parent, that feedback that they've got this.
Like
And
permission for the parent to
yeah,
just be okay.
yeah. And I learned that also as a parent taking my kids to therapy, because I remember when I originally took Flinny to therapy, and I think I've spoken about this before, and I was just
Mm.
like, Flinny, keep going, stay focused. And my speech, he was like, it's okay, I've got it. Like, you don't need to stress that this is really normal behavior. Don't,
Mm.
don't worry about it. And I quite often say to my team, because quite a lot of the time you'll have parents that are anxious, that they want their kids to perform well, they want to get the most out of the session. There's a lot tied up in it. And
Parents
so
have
I'll
all their
coach.
motivations that they're bringing in
Yeah,
as
that's
well.
right.
Mm.
Yeah. So I think that just having that conversation and saying, we're good, I'm happy to manage it. There's no, it's totally fine, because the behavior is telling me, giving me clues as to what is working,
Mm.
what is not working. So it's actually quite important. So I think that you can, weave that into your therapy and what you're learning about the child and the communication with the parent, which is then going to help with that co-regulation, because the stress is going to decrease as well, a little bit less
Mm.
pressure, I think.
Absolutely. And like I think before I had kids as a clinician, if a child came in and there was, behavior and whatnot, I never once as a clinician put it on the parent in my mind. Like I
Mm.
was always just trying to work with a child in front of me. But it's interesting then that as a parent that I've put it on myself, but as a clinician, I never did put it on parents. Anyway, It's just funny, like
Yeah,
that cycle.
interesting.
But yeah,
It's
and
interesting, isn't
even
it?
now, even as I go into therapy, I never once, like, I always look to the parent for answers. So I'll say, like, what's happened before you've come
Mm.
in? How's your morning been? How's your afternoon been? Did they sleep last night well? Have they eaten today and drunk as per normal today? Like, what's been happening? Like, I'll look at them for clues, but I'm never blaming them in my mind as a clinician. And so, yeah, it's because you're just dealing with what's in front of you, and that's not helpful in the situation. You're like, unless the parents there like putting pressure on them, like, over them, like in the therapy
Yeah,
space.
which
I've never once,
happens. That does
yeah,
happen.
yeah. But I've never, like, say the child just comes in and they're in the therapy space and the parents sitting. I never once think, oh, this is your fault, or like, but all the things that
Yeah.
we just said as parents, I
Yeah.
never think that. So, and I guess that's one strategy as a clinician, or in as a professional in these situations in your setting, is that you need to be focused on what's happening in front of you. So you need to be very observant, like Lizzie's saying with behavior, it's giving us clues of what's happening, of what regulation status we're at. But it's really going, okay, I need to step back a little bit as a clinician, like maybe mentally from the plan that I had in my mind, like, this is what we're doing today. I need to step back and I just need to observe. So, what that might look like mentally stepping back, but physically, you might just take the pressure off and be like, okay, let's just pull out some bubbles, or let's just play a game that I know that their favorite game is, or let's get out the dinosaur cards because I know they love dinosaurs, or, do they need a hug from mum? Do they just need to go and
Mm.
settle with mum first? So, you're physically still doing something, but mentally taking a step back from your plan. And then you need to kind of go, okay, so mentally adjust my goals. Like, say you're going into the sessions thinking, okay, like, I had 3 goals that I wanted to target today. All right, let's step back from those 3 goals and think, okay, maybe what can we, like, maybe I need to reevaluate the order of those goals, or I need to
Mm.
go to a goal maybe we did 2 sessions ago that I know they can achieve, and that's easy. So we
Mm.
need to start with a really easy goal first that, yeah, I wasn't planning on doing today, but I know that they can do it, and they just need a bit of positive reinforcement first, or something easy to help us get into therapy if that will work. I might
Mm.
need to think it might be just one goal today, So it's just thinking about your plan and letting go mentally, whatever that. There's lots of ways you can look at it, but that's just a few ways to look at it.
Yeah, I think that's really valid points. And I think the part on behavior is we actually want to see the behaviors. We want to see what their response is to certain input or certain situations, because that is telling us from a clinical perspective as to what is going on and how that child's experiencing it, which is really, really helpful information. We don't want to see them behave because then when we don't know what's going on. So I think that that's really important. And I think what you're talking about is, providing appropriate challenges and setting expectations. That's all part of that motivation. So that role modeling, that building confidence, providing challenges that are appropriate and realistic for them, setting goals that are, those SMART goals that are realistic and appropriate for them. Um, I think that's all part of that building intrinsic motivation and starting to create a list and track a list for that particular child as to what works and doesn't work. And that becomes part of their therapy and the strategies that you use and the strategies that you will provide for their parents and their team, basically, educators, therapists, support people, to continue to build on those skills, because that's what's going to help us get the repetition. That's what's going to set them up
Mm.
for therapy and those life skills. So I think, I think that they're all really valid points. The other thing that just came to my mind is, and I just talked about it in my socials that are coming out next month, is just taking kids on that sensory journey, which is basically regulation and managing stimulation. So I think that's something that can really influence on how a session goes. And it's about getting children in the right state to be receptive to learn and to try things that are a little bit difficult. And of course, what we need to do for that is for them to feel safe. So what are things that we need to do to help them feel safe? We need to create predictability. We need to obviously co-regulate, manage stimulation. So if we see them coming in and they're overstimulated, or understimulated, like yawning, staring off into space, then we need to be able to go to our toolkit and go, okay, where in the sensory scale are they, and what journey do we need to take them on, and then we take them through and try and take them as high as we can without going over, and then ground them and bring them back down, and use that again as collateral to have in their therapy to use repeatedly when we know that it works or doesn't work, or where their limits are, because then we can track progress as well.
I am reminded that I had a little boy who used to be like that, like very up and down. So sometimes I'd pick him up from the waiting room and he'd be like staring into space, yawning, just vacant, like shoulders slumped, like sort of like coming into the therapy space like that. Or he'd either be the other extreme where he'd just be like running around the waiting room. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, how am I going to calm him? And this is coming back to then what you said a little bit before this is, so that comes at like how we manage this with the children becomes part of their therapy plan. But then it also becomes a part of like the education with the parents. So I started saying to the parents, okay, so before you come to therapy, what can we do so that they're in an optimal state for me to pick them up? Because this child, for whatever reason, I could only do 30-minute sessions with him. I couldn't do hours. And I think this is a big difference.
Probably because of that reason. Like,
Yeah. And
because
so
he
I was
was,
saying, like, I was sort of thinking clinically as well, if I can get the parent to do something before and they have that capacity, if they can get him to a state, I'm then going to be able to make more use of my therapeutic time because I can jump
yes,
into my goals, right? I don't mind using the session to do that, but I'm like, if it's only a 30-minute session and the mum needs to debrief me for 5 to 10 minutes of that 30-minute session, that's 20 minutes left with him. If I then have to spend 10 minutes regulating him, it's, it is what it is. But I was like, if I could get 20 minutes of therapeutic time, I'm going to get a lot more progress, right? So I just implemented some strategies with mum. She did have capacity. So some parents I've worked with, they don't have capacity for this, and that's fine. But then she had a little routine with him before he came in. And then I worked with her of, okay, like, where is he sitting on the scale? And then she was able to do some things. And it did actually help my progress with therapy over time. And it did help working with her. I think that then may have helped her outside of therapy as well. Like when she was going to OT, she's like, oh, we've got the same routine because OT is 2 doors
yeah,
down from us. So she's like, we've got the same routine. We'll do that for OT if I'm noticing these things. And so it is like a good education for parents as well. And that becomes part of their therapy plan, like you're saying. And these are our tools. Yes, we can do it in our sessions, which is totally fine. But if we can then educate parents as well, that's so good, right?
absolutely. And I think something really important in what you're saying is that initially the sessions may be determining how to regulate a child
Mm,
and what works for them and how to get them into the right state. So that is part of your therapy. And I think that if you communicate that with parents, initially we want to establish what works and what doesn't work, and how your child responds to different things, so that we can really gather as much information as we can and provide you with some strategies. Those strategies will be something that we can implement throughout the session, but there are also things, like you're saying, that we can collaborate with the parents to implement in and around sessions. But I think that that is very much part of your therapy. You will be establishing those things, initially, and then that's something that you either can put into your programming in your session, or, like you say, work with the parent and get more into more therapeutic practices in the
mm,
session. But that's some strategies. And I don't know a single parent that wouldn't want some strategies around regulating their children, whether it's before therapy or not. And I know you say some parents don't have capacity, but you could say, hey, I'm trying this. It's working really well. So if you're finding that he's struggling with regulating, maybe try A, B, C, and D. And
Oh,
then
absolutely.
maybe, and then go into, okay, can we try A, B, and C before you come into sessions? Because that will really help. Otherwise, I'm going to be spending, half of the session on regulation, which they may be happy with. But like you say, some will be so on board with prepping for that session.
And it's, like you said, it's a seasonal thing. So you might need to spend, the first part of the therapy journey figuring that out, but you don't really want to be doing that long term, do you? Unless it's unless it's absolutely necessary. Um, so, we've got some strategies here that we've said. So you need to be flexible with your mindset. You need to be observing the child. You need to have some strategies of working with or looking at regulation. So for yourself, then the parent, working with the parent, and then working with the child. I guess in all of that, we need to make sure it's positive, right? Just because a child comes in and things don't go to plan, we don't want it to be seen, even for the parent, as frustrating for us as clinicians. I have actually observed that before with some clinicians. They let their frustration show, mostly with new grads, because they're not aware of what they're showing. But we need to
Well, I
make
think they
sure.
also like to be really planned. And if it doesn't go to
Yeah,
plan, they can get frazzled. And I think the more
yeah,
experience you get, the more you're able to just step back and go, I have a toolkit here. So if this doesn't go to plan, I can pull on all these levers to manage this session. So I think it's really building that toolkit of strategies, trying them on if they work with a child or not, and being flexible and trying multiple things and not kind of just going, oh, well, that didn't work. You got to try multiple things, problem solve, communicate to the parent, educate the parent, set yourself up for success.
ask questions from the parent, and keep
Yeah.
it positive. So avoiding frustration, negativity, anything like that. Which, if you've got a curious mindset, the frustration shouldn't happen. Like if your mindset is open, it should be portraying that in your body language and the way that you're approaching the session.
Isn't
Just,
that interesting? Like always just going, isn't that interesting?
yeah,
What's not working?
it comes from your mindset, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, making sure that you know that it is normal for children to go off book, so to speak, and to go off plan. That can be completely normal. As parents, we would definitely say that, and as experienced therapists, we would say that. Probably the only other thing I would add is make sure that you then reflect in progress notes or with your colleagues. Reflect, make sure you then are able to get some strategies from other clinicians if they've previously worked with a child, or if they have other children like that as well. Make sure that you're trying new things each session with the child or with children where you feel like the plans are not going as scheduled. So we hope that this has given you a bit of food for thought, again, like all of our episodes we try to do. And we'll pop any links below with like Lizzie's mentioned a few different things that she has. We'll pop links below to help you if you want to continue your learning. And we hope you enjoyed this episode. Until next time, we will talk to you soon.
Bye.